All right. Well, pleasure to have you here, Dr. Gerson Naverrete. Um, I guess we could
Thank
just
you.
start off the interview by you introducing yourself. What do you do? What's your current position? Where you went to school?
Yeah, so my name is Gerson Naverrete. I'm currently a first year fellow in US regulatory strategy here at Amgen. It's one of the Rutgers Pharmaceutical Industry Fellowship programs. And I went to the University of Southern California for pharmacy school, so down in LA and based out here in the Bay Area.
Nice. So, were you pretty set on industry even before going into pharmacy school, or do you feel like there was a moment in pharmacy school that kind of solidified that decision for you?
I would say that I started pharmacy school off with a pretty open mindset. I didn't want to shy away from any opportunities that come my way. I mean, especially with how competitive pharmacy is. I was always keeping my eye out for an inpatient job, an outpatient job, and even a job in the pharmaceutical industry. So I would say the experience that really solidified it for me was my first in-person internship, where I was an intern in regulatory affairs, chemistry, manufacturing, and controls, or regulatory affairs CMC, pretty much dealing with
Right.
the quality and manufacturing side of the drugs and biologics that we create. And I would say that, my interactions there, just seeing how cross functional it is, seeing how well respected the pharmacist was in the pharmaceutical industry, and just the work life balance was great. And I'd say that was the first experience that really solidified my future choice of wanting to pursue a career in industry.
You feel like the regulatory affairs masters kind of gave you an upper hand in getting that first experience you had spoken about? Because I know some people are concerned about, say, the cost of an extra degree, and others
Hmm.
say that that extra degree is invaluable, right?
Hmm.
And that extra experience. And
Hmm.
do you feel like it is, uh, worthwhile to consider for pharmacy students?
I think it really depends on your confidence and kind of where the state of the world is at that moment. I wanted to be the most competitive candidate possible. So doing things like getting that master's degree, while maybe, let's say, if I look back in 10 years, maybe I didn't need it in the end, but it's definitely something that I was able to bring as talking points into my internship interviews, into my fellowship interviews. So with me thinking that it definitely helped get that first experience. Who knows if I would have been able to get my second industry internship after that? Who knows if maybe I wouldn't have been able to get some of the appies I wanted because I was talking about those experiences that I was able to get because I had that master's degree. Is a master's degree 100% necessary? I would say it's not 100% necessary, but anything that you can do to make yourself a more competitive candidate, those 30 to $50,000, it's a lot of money. It definitely is a lot of money, but for me the trade-off is worth it if I'm able to not be looking for a job for 1 year and missing out on maybe $100,000 or something like that.
Right.
So making yourself the most well-rounded candidate, that way you can pick up a job as easy as possible, looking for the shortest amount of time. So I think it'll pay off in the end.
Yeah. So taking it back, were you involved in student orgs on campus? And if so, how did they help you in the professional world?
Yeah, my first leadership experience was my P1 year. I was a level one representative for the Student National Pharmaceutical Association, or SNAFA. It
Mm,
is an organization that's dedicated to bridging the gap in, minority communities, very poor communities, and pretty much fostering a group of individuals who kind of don't fit into any other category. There was no Latino association when I was in pharmacy school, so I feel
right.
like um, I I felt more attracted to an organization that was serving the East LA community, a community that was very similar to the one that I grew up in. Um, After that, my second year of pharmacy school, I was a student ambassador for the Margaret and John Biles Academic Success Center, I believe it is called.
Yeah.
And they gave me a ton of opportunities. I was able to, go to dinners with the board of directors for the School of Pharmacy. I was able to speak at certain outreach events for high school parents that wanted to get their kids to go into a health profession, medical school, pharmacy school, PT school. Just gave me so many opportunities and so much face time in the School of Pharmacy, where, you know, we have like almost 200 students per class. So any opportunity that you have to show your face and be more familiar with the faculty is super invaluable. You know, being that when you apply for fellowships, you're probably going to need 3 letters of recommendation, and you want to have a good diversity of professional contacts as well as academic contacts. I was also on the student admissions committee, and you know, that definitely sharpened up my interview skills, being able to sit on the other side and speak with candidates and kind of take the edge and pressure off of interviewing. You know, when mid-year comes around, you're interviewing back to back, and you're going to know every situation in your head like the back of your hand. You're going to be able to speak to it so well. And I think that serving on the student admissions committee helped me sharpen that up. By the 3rd year of pharmacy school, I was president of the Student National Pharmaceutical Association. So I was able to lead an organization of over 30 people, put on events that I've always wanted to put on, and get closer with not only my own class, but with the P2 and P1 class, which, you know, I still hold these connections close. Shout out to Philmon.
Shout out to you, man. Shout out to you. What's one piece of advice that you would give to current pharmacy students, maybe even split up into like underclassmen and then
Mhm.
upperclassmen, P1, P2s, and P3s, P4s?
And this is just general advice, not anything
General,
specific to. Okay.
yeah. Could be pharmacy, could be non-pharmacy, could be
Yeah.
outlook on pharmacy school, pharmacy world,
Mhm.
anything.
So I would say to the younger pharmacy students or people that are wanting to go into pharmacy school, to definitely keep an open mindset. You don't want to be that person, and it's completely fine if you are that person that changes their mind in P4 year. You know, you don't want to be a month out from graduating and you're like, you know what? I actually don't want to work in a hospital for the rest of my life, or I don't want to work in a community pharmacy, or, you know, maybe that department of industry that I was working in for the past 3 years is something that I don't want to do now. So always keep an open mindset and make sure that you really take a good look at every opportunity that is presented to you really early on, because those opportunities might not present themselves again. And a good example that I can give with that is, you know, a lot of these intern jobs at hospitals, they only come once and then they're gone. And maybe they'll take your application for only 1 or 2 weeks, and then you can't work there for the rest of pharmacy school. So really take a look at every opportunity, but don't, by saying that, don't overload yourself as well. You know, you want to have time to, you know, socialize with your friends. You want to have time to do something extracurricular outside of pharmacy just to keep yourself sane. You also want to have time to take on a leadership position. So make sure that you take a good look at every opportunity that's given to you, but, you know, keep a healthy mindset and don't work yourself to death, because that's how you grow to hate pharmacy.
How did you network during pharmacy school? Was it like, did you take initiative to like reach out to faculty? Did you go to conferences? What was
Mhm.
like your method of networking?
Yeah, so my method of networking was, I was kind of one of those students that wasn't really part of any club, but I would try to go to all of their events. You know, I was one of those bad students. You know, if you're going to be going to all the events of a certain club, like, you might as well just join the club. But I was stubborn, so I'd go to the SIA events. You know, I would go to industry night. I think they have like, well, it's like industry 101, and then they have the building bridges.
Yeah,
Super great opportunities to meet people that are currently working in industry. And, you know, when you're going into pharmacy school in your P1 year, you really don't know as much as you think you know. So just being able to learn from all those people was really nice. The student admissions committee, I would say, it was another great way to meet people who would eventually come into the pharmacy school. So building my future network. The the student ambassador opportunity, I would say, put me more close with faculty more than anything, just because faculty are so closely knit into that organization, and a lot of the faculty lead there. So when you're in this group of, you know, maybe 60 students across all 3 classes, the faculty really do get to know you. So
right.
I would say try to stay involved. um, don't be afraid to reach out to people, especially if they're alumni from USC. I I'm always happy to talk with students, and I know sometimes it could take a little long to get back to them, but I know that I would have been really grateful for every opportunity that they had to talk to me when I was underclassman. So yeah, don't be afraid to reach out to anybody, even if it's just to say like, hey, I have no idea what you do, but it sounds cool. Can you just explain it to me? And I'm sure they'll be more than happy to explain.
Yeah, most definitely. I feel like having the student title, you really have to take advantage of. I feel like a
Exactly.
lot of people won't turn down a student for like an information session,
Hmm.
things like that. So
Exactly.
yeah, definitely feel those points. Um, so like what next question, were you strategic about picking your appies? And if so, what was your game plan and how did you execute?
For my industry appies, I'm a firm believer in trying at least a little bit of everything before closing the doors on something. So for example, I tried working in a hospital, didn't like it, tried working in community pharmacy, didn't like it. I tried working in medical affairs. I thought it wasn't the right fit for me. I tried working in market access. I tried working in FDA, and I eventually found my fit in regulatory affairs. So going into appies, I had only had experience in regulatory affairs, and that was pretty much it. So luckily, during those summer blocks 2 and 3, I was able to get an internship in medical information and medical communications. I selected one of my elective appies to be at the FDA, and I selected another one of my elective appies to be over at Amgen doing global pricing and market access. So I knew that by the end of my appies, I would have already have chosen a fellowship. But I at least knew that at the end I would know at least somewhat of an idea of what I wanted to do in industry for the foreseeable, 2 to 5 years. And after doing getting some commercial experience, medical experience, regulatory experience, and then even some experience over at a health agency like the FDA, happy to say that I think I made the right choice, siding with regulatory.
Definitely. Yeah, I feel those sentiments because I feel like you can't really know what you want to do until you
So you do
figure
it.
out what you don't want to do and you try
Exactly.
things and you try community and retail, you try, inpatient, you try managed care, and then you like
Hmm.
narrow down what you want to do. So I definitely feel those sentiments. Um,
Exactly. But
so I
like,
guess
I guess
yeah,
like on the opposite side of that, if 100% like you want to do medical affairs, like do an internship in medical affairs, do both of your appies in medical affairs, and then maybe you won't
right.
have to do a fellowship and something like that. But
Mhm.
for me, like I wasn't one of those people. Like I wanted to try everything. I wanted to try at least a little bit of everything, and I know that there's still a lot that I have yet to try, but I at least have a general sense of what everyone does in industry.
So going off that, this is wise Dr. Navarrete speaking, right? So if you were to give one piece of advice to P1 Gerson, what would it be? And it could be general advice for
Dang.
your outlook on pharmacy school, on the pharmacy world, on you
Yeah.
know the workload,
Hmm.
how you manage your time, whatever, anything.
Oh man, that's a deep question, man.
Heavy question.
That's a deep
That's what
question.
we're going for here.
um, you know, there were definitely some times where I felt like I wasn't doing the right thing, and there were definitely a lot of times where I felt like I wasn't doing enough or I wasn't good enough. I would tell P1 Garrison to, don't get caught up in the short term, kind of like the short term kind of failures. I didn't get any job my P1 year, and that made me feel super bad, especially going into P2 year when one of the professors came up to the front of the class and was like, everyone who has a job, raise your hand. And I was one of the very, very few people who didn't raise my hand. And that made me feel super bad. And I took maybe an intern job where it was pretty miserable, but I felt like I needed to do something because I felt like I wasn't doing enough. So tell P1 Garrison that all of these shortcomings and failures are working towards a greater good, that everything worked out in the end, to always keep an open mindset and keep your friends really close, because after pharmacy school, who knows when's the next time that you're going to see them. I feel like I definitely took that time for granted when I had all of my friends all in one room and I was right down the hall from one of my best friends. Definitely learned to appreciate those moments. don't get caught up too much in the failure, and know that everything that you're doing is working towards a greater good. And you may not see the outcome in 1 year, you may not see the outcome in 2 years, but it's going to work out in the end.
The wise elephant. I feel like this is the wise elephant advice. Yeah, definitely. I feel those same sentiments because I didn't have a job either.
Hmm.
Um, P2 year, and it felt like everybody around me did, and people were kind of taken aback when I said that I wasn't working.
Yep,
But I always
exactly.
found time to like get involved in extracurriculars
Hmm.
and work on side projects with professors and things like that,
Hmm.
which I feel like kind of gave me a wider, um, a broader like experience catalog that I can speak
Yep.
to and like
Hmm.
interviews and things like that, which I feel like is paying off now.
Hmm.
So yeah, no, I appreciate those sentiments.
Of
That
course,
that
man.
is great advice
Hmm.
for P1 Gerson and any other
Yeah.
P1s and P2s and P3s. Yeah, so thank you. I mean, that was the
Of
last
course.
question. Thank you so much for being here,
Of
Dr.
course.
Navarrete.
Of course.
It was a pleasure to have you. And hopefully the current pharmacy students can take something from this. And
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, and of
yeah,
course, thanks for having me. You know, it means a lot, and being able to speak to my P1 self. Hopefully, I whooped his butt into shape in the past. Work. I want to work so I can enjoy my life. Work to live, don't live to work.